Welcome, guys, to the fifth night of the Spark Writing Festival. Really excited to have you guys here. So for this evening, we have Imani Williams with us. Imani Williams is a poet and educator that hails from the Sunshine State. She continued her studies at the University of Alabama, where she earned a BS in Public Health and an MA in Women's Studies. While in undergraduate school, Imani earned a scholarship to compete with the university's Forensic Speech and Debate team, where she continued her deep and abiding love for spoken word, competed in national competitions with other students from top-tier institutions, and independently participated in the world of poetry. She began writing poetry after Imani was awarded the Autherine Lucy Foster Award in spring 2019, which is given annually to Black Scholars Day to one student and one faculty or staff member who has made a significant contribution to the university through leadership, service, and support for minority student programming. She is currently an instructor of women's studies at the university. So, all right, Imani, take it away.
Hello, everyone. How's it going? Like she said, my name is Imani. I do poetry. In my off time, I'm getting right back to it, so it's been an interesting journey. But I do teach at the university, and I'm so happy to be here today. I've heard that all of the workshops have been going amazing. Can everybody hear me? We're good? Okay. So today, I just kind of wanted to share my writing process with you, and kind of my, how do you say it? Like my blueprint as to how I figure out what I use, for performance and how that goes. Feel free at any point in time to help me, right? I love talking to other writers because that's how you get better. So if you have any suggestions or, any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free at any point in time, um, to comment. Okay. So I'm about to
I did have
share.
to just say, the whole reason I did Spark was because of the spoken word, and I saw you at Bards and Brews, and I love spoken word, so I'm like super excited to hear about your process from poetry to that.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I love Bards and Brews. Every time I've gotten to go, it's been great. And it's also great as an artist of any, an artist in any medium to go to see other art, even if it's not your medium, right? Um, Even though writing is my medium, I will say it's very interesting. And thank you so much for saying that because sometimes I have a lot of anxiety, so I'll perform and then I'll be like, oh, nobody's paying attention, but you never know. um, so let me go ahead and share my screen to get to my little PowerPoint. I just did it really well, so let's hope it works again this time. Hold on. Boom. Okay, everybody should see my screen. Workshop view slideshow. Okay, does everybody see my little slideshow? Okay, yay! All right. My computer's working today. So, my first slide is the brainstorming slide. Normally what I do is I do my top 10 thoughts. I don't know if you all keep track of your thoughts through the day, but this might be a little reminder to do so. So I'll go in my notes app, right? And I'll just write down different things that I'm thinking, like, oh my gosh, I saw the cutest little kid today playing with their, toy. And that reminds me of when I play with my toy. You know what I mean? Like, just, and then maybe I'll have like a core memory. Like, you just never know. So I go through and I try to write at least 10 thoughts a day. I worked up to that though. I worked up to that. So I would say start with like 2 to 4 and then see where you go from there. Um, Also, some people say this is cheating. I don't think it's cheating. Word generators, concept generators, idea generators, however you want to say it, whatever you're thinking of, use them. They're free. Okay, they're free. You get to give somebody some money, some clicks on their website. They wouldn't have them otherwise. And it's so helpful, especially because writing is a practice. Everything that you're good at is a practice, right? And I feel like we write every day, we read every day, whether or not we realize it. And so to have that conscious practice, sometimes you have a brain fart. Your brain is tired. You worked all day and you know, you have this 10 minutes that you've dedicated to yourself, and you're just sitting down, use a word generator. Well, what does it say? It said blue, and now I'm thinking of 12,000 different blue things. Thesauruses, thesauruses, thesauruses. I might sound old, and that's okay because my mother's an educator, so of course I'm like, you have to get a thesaurus. But dictionaries, thesauruses, even sometimes like encyclopedias. And I know you're like, oh, well, I can just go on Wiki. Like, no, like an old school encyclopedia that somebody is not using randomly at your grandmother's house. Look through it. Look through it. It might sound insane, but the type of things that you'll think about, the different words that you'll find. I used to, as a kid, because again, my mother's a teacher, I used to go through and just write down all the weird words. Like, oh, I did not know that meant this. And you know, a thesaurus gives you a different word for what you know. So you're like, oh, that was crazy. And then somebody's like, oh, that was unexpected or something. And then you go, oh, that was serendipitous. And you nobody in their right mind in normal conversation is using serendipitous, you know what I mean, or Uber in its proper term, unless you're talking about the car service, right? But you never know what that could lead to. So I will say, sometimes with writing, you have to invest in the process and not the goal. That sounds really wild, right? But the details and the growth is in the process. You have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. You have to take it wherever it's going to lead. Sometimes, you know, things might lead to a happy place. Sometimes they don't, right? I think the thing about writers is that we have this je ne sais quoi, this quality, this thing about us where we sit in emotions that other people process too quickly to actually understand. You know what I mean? Have you ever talked to somebody who is self-aware and somebody who isn't, right? That's the difference between you at 15 and you at 20 something, right? Later 20s, 30s for some people, right? When you sit with yourself, you discover things about you that you didn't really know. And then sometimes, you know, you figure out where you sabotage yourself too. And it's the same with writing. Sometimes we'll sabotage a piece because we don't want to be honest. Sometimes we'll sabotage a piece because we're seeking perfection. And sometimes the perfectness is in the imperfection. We're human. So there's no any perfect product you see is a farce. Because nothing is perfect, right? I mean, like, I love Beyonce. And I'm like, Beyonce's perfection, right? Especially if we're talking about that last album. But, right, I appreciate Renaissance. You won't break my soul, right? But to get to that level of perfection, supposedly, requires a lot of failure. And no performance, I don't care what anybody says, no performance goes 100% without a hitch, whether you know it or not, right? So, like, to obsess yourself with perfection, and I'm only talking about this because I'm talking to myself, right? So, to obsess yourself with perfection can prohibit your growth because you need the imperfection in order to grow. You think your piece is good because you're, like, I call it a freestyle, right? That first draft, and you're like, oh my God, that's it. Like, I don't need to do any more work. Yeah, your freestyle was great. But can you edit it and make it better? Can you change the performance? That's where the greatness is, right? I'm sure nobody will want to listen to the first draft of Thriller. I don't care how much you love Michael Jackson. I don't care. You don't want to listen to that first draft because it probably included some, you know, notes that he didn't hit right, okay? And I don't want the notes he didn't hit right because that's not what's gonna sell. I need your best, and your best has to come out of working with what you want to get rid of. That's life. And life is writing. Boom. There you go. That's life, and life is writing. That's what you came for. That's what you came to the Spark Festival for. Oop. It's not gonna let me do the thing. Okay. Go to the next one. Okay. Click. Okay. So, you remember when we were talking about searching for those words and the variety of them, the myriad of words? I then do a word cloud. I don't know if you all, were like me and needed all different type of examples when you were a kid and you were brainstorming. I want you to go back, right? I want you to go back to English class, probably literature, arts and literature, because they had to change the names or whatever, right? So we're going like middle school, elementary school, and when you used to do the little bubble charts, those bubble charts save lives. I don't care what anybody says. And then you can go online, right? Google Images. They have all different types of bubble charts. You got regular bubble charts. You got bubble charts in an ice cream shape. You got all types of things. So if you're like me and you need to vary it up, you can, okay? It's how I organize my thoughts. It's how I organize my everyday thoughts. And it is extremely helpful when it comes to writing. So sometimes I do Word. After I got that word generator, right? Let's say it gave me love. So I'm going to do word and item association with the concept. So love, marriage, red, passion. Immediately the words that are coming to my head when I think of the word love. And then I do it with emotions. Love, jealousy, lust in a way. And then I write the extremes of the concept. So you can go from a crush, your love can be a crush, and then your love can be obsessive, right? And what are the umbrellas within that? When I say crush, what do you think of? Who are you thinking of, right? Who's your celebrity crush, right? When I was 8, it was Little Romeo, right? Now, Michael B. Jordan. We understand this, okay? Obvious. We've established it, But, and then there's obsessive. Like, I think of Mariah Carey and Eminem. Like, why are you so obsessed with me, right? And so now I'm thinking about music. And we can go on I can write a whole poem about how much I love music, right? So I think it also helps you not limit yourself, because if you do get to a dead end, you have something else to go off of. I like options. Obviously, that might be an issue in my life, but I like options. And then, click it again. I write. I'm writing. So, 1 to 3 minute drills. I used to do this with my friends on the phone, especially in high school, because, we were bored and we were all nerds and we had nothing to do. So we just call each other like, what are you doing? Did you finish your AP homework? Like, what's up? What's popping? And as we're talking, because most of the time we're just talking about whatever, I'm writing. I had them give me a word. I let them do whatever. And I'm writing. And then a timer goes off. And they're like, oh, well, I've been talking about the AP homework that I finished 3 hours ago or whatever. I was like, okay, well, I wrote a poem. So let's read it. And that's how you get better. You have to write a lot of trash before you get to the treasure, okay? And it's never, even when you call it trash, you're being self-critical. It's probably treasure, right? So those minute drills are constant, especially if you're like a person like me who has a busy day, because you're not going to write every day. Like, realistically, you can be one of those people, okay? But if you're not disciplined in your regular day, me telling you to like become a writing savant tomorrow makes no sense, okay? Like, no. So the 1 to 3 minute drills, 3 to 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, you can bump it up if that's how you find your piece, and you just keep going. Stream of consciousness writing is great, especially when like you're upset. I don't know if you all get irritated. Like, I get irritated, but sometimes I get irritated and I don't even know what I'm mad about. I'm just mad. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, you know what I'm saying? I had a dream, okay, that Michael B. Jordan got married. I'm upset. My day is over, all right? I don't know what's going on. So I need to check myself. I need to check in with myself. I need to just write. And sometimes I'm listening to music and I'm writing down the lyrics because they're my favorite lyrics, and that's what I need right now. And sometimes, I'm writing somebody's name over and over and over again until I get exasperated with singing their name so that I'm not thinking about you, i.e. Michael B. Jordan. And then we have challenge of form. So I don't know if have you ever met somebody who was an English major and like their flex is that they throw out a random sonnet or something of, Shakespeare, and I'm like, ooh, right? Okay, so I love the challenge of a form. Am I going to read all those sonnets? Absolutely not. I have no purpose. No, I don't think that serves any purpose in my life. But challenging yourself in a form helps you understand the limitations. And when I say limitations, I mean it challenges the limitations of what you think you can do. So let's say you're making a haiku, right? You write the haiku, you write 5 different haikus, and then you're going to realize, oh, I have a pattern. You only, first off, the pattern is it's 575. You can't go any further than that, right? So it's, what am I going to pack into these syllables? How do I break down my words? Does the way that I speak impact the word that I can use? Because if you have a southern accent, how you say a word might be different from a northerner, right? So that means that you might suffer in a way because you need extra syllables and they don't, right? Or you're drawing it out. How are you gonna, if I'm like, okay, this is a haiku competition, and you're like, hey, you know, you gave me 675, that's not a haiku. You just got crutch, you know, you're out. But then it makes you play with words. It makes you actually understand, you know, the words that you use. It makes you more particular about those words. So do you really need to use this big word to sound fancy, or what are you really trying to say? What are you really trying to say, or do you need a big word? Because we need to fill up some space, right? These are the things that matter, especially when you're talking about performance. Also, I was going to say one more thing. Excuse me. Ooh, I'll drink a soda again. Yeah, I think that's all I have right now. Oh, yeah. I like to keep one concept and write around it. What do I mean by writing around the concept? I don't know how you all feel about music in your writing process. Some people need it to be absolutely quiet. Some people need birds. I don't know what you need, right? But I do know that certain emotions elicit certain things, right? So if I'm on the concept of love, me writing about how I feel about love when I'm upset is different from how I'm writing about love when I'm in it. Work around that. What does love look like when you're happy? What does love look like when you're sad? Make a playlist listen to a playlist that coincides with that, right? You know? And when you say love, like, and you think of a word, think of a song, play a song that works with that. But what were they saying, you know? And Ring the Alarm, I'm sure, you know, that's going to be a little bit different than anything Ed Sheeran sings. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I mean by writing around a concept. But it helps me, so hopefully it'll help y'all too. And then we get to the nitty gritty. We get to the work. This is the editing, okay? Mark it up. It needs to look like, I don't know. It needs to look like a sketch, like you work at a tattoo shop. Like, I want to see ink all over that page. I don't know if your teachers ever gave you the test of, here's the test of somebody who passed, and here's the test of somebody who's not, and everybody chooses the one without any writing on the test, but really it's the one of the person who wrote everything on top of the test and wrote out their thoughts. Mark it up, okay? And when I'm editing, especially if I'm editing like for competition, I'm editing for pace. So let's say the way that you're delivering a part of the poem is fast. It needs to be fast paced. You have to edit for that, right? And you can't have it can't be fast paced if, you know, the first stanza looks like you're trying to write for Oxford. Okay, that's not gonna work. It's just not. It's not. So you have to edit for that. I know a lot of people don't. These are the things that people don't like to tell you, because everyone's like, oh, you know, just write, and then we'll work from there. And that's great. But right, like, if you're like me, it's okay to be calculated in your writing, right? There's room for freedom, and then there's also room sometimes in your editor space for that calculation. Purpose. What are you trying to say? One, what are you trying to say? And then also, where are you saying it? Are we doing this for a performance, or is this going to be published in a book? Those are two different things. One has 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The other, you know, can be the Iliad or the Odyssey. That's your choice. But please do not come to the Poetry Slam with the Iliad or the Odyssey, and now you know you've gotten marked off because it's 30 seconds and you lose the points. And well, here we are 3 minutes in. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate you for bringing that poem, that epic poem, because, you know, it was needed and you needed to get it out and all that good stuff. But you knew the time limit was 2 minutes and 30 seconds. This is not the place, not the time. No, absolutely not. Now, when we do a book expo or whatever, we got you. But that not for the poetry slam, right? So that's something that I think a lot of people don't think about, but is very necessary. The people, are you actually editing? Are you writing for a certain audience? Are you gonna be like, are you gonna be talking, doing this poem in front of middle schoolers, in front of children, in front of high schoolers? Certain things maybe we don't need to talk about, or we need to use other words for. Appropriateness is a thing, especially when you talk about commission and performances, right? Appropriateness is a thing. And then also, every poem is not for everybody. I know a lot of people think, that's how it goes, but it's not, right? So are you, if this is going to be like a public poem, are you comfortable with the poem? Are you comfortable with the words that you're saying on stage? Because how you sell it is how we're going to receive it. And when I say sell it, I mean believe in it. How you believe in it is how we're going to receive it. So, if you're talking about, I'm the best at whatever, and you really don't feel like the best, are we there? Is it time for this poem, or does it need to wait? Yeah. And then, also when I say, edit for people, I think, you should also consider the legality too. I think a lot of people, are like, yeah, record my performance, and then they're upset when it's taken down or something like that, because it's, you can sing somebody's song, but do you have the rights to do that? And then also, do you have the right to tell somebody else's story the way that you're telling it? What if they're in the audience? Are you comfortable? Are you ready for that? You know what I mean? If you're not telling your story, right, you have to be careful. You also have to be careful how people resonate with things. If you don't give a trigger warning before your poem, and your poem is triggering, or your piece, that's not responsible as an artist. And that's just, reality. So, those are things to be mindful of. And then, like I said, performance. When I say performance, I don't know if anybody here did theater, but you are not just jumping on a stage. It's not happening. That's why Broadway practices so much for those small amount of performances, is because everything has to go off without a hitch, supposedly. So, are you breaking up the syllables in the poem to meet the performance? Is this are you going to be doing certain poems at a certain time? If you have varying of topic, right? So I don't want to listen to a poem about your mom and then listen to a poem about, other things, and then you go back to your mom. Like, that's, not only is it weird for us, it's weird for you, right? So you have to group it based upon what you're talking about. And then you also have to group it based upon pace and purpose and people, right? All of this goes together. So maybe I'll have a slow poem here, a faster poem here, a poem that gets the crowd excited, and then a more serious poem. Or maybe I need to reorganize that, right? Because you want to be memorable at the beginning and the end. You want to be memorable the whole time, right? But at the same time, you have to feed off of the crowd. How will they receive it? And normally, like, kind of how comedians have their tight 10 or whatever amount of time that they perform, when you have the things that you have down packed, you can pretty much anticipate how the crowd will react. And then you can also anticipate the way your time, right? Okay, well, we can pay you this much for this time. Okay, well, I have these poems and I fit this time. Will it work for that audience? Okay, cool, perfect. Collect your check. The people get what they need. Everybody keeps going, right? And I know people hate when you talk about art this way, but I feel like these type of conversations are necessary because it's kind of it helps you with writing too. And and for anybody who's not feeling, selling their work, that's fine too. But like, even when you are making a book, right? Sometimes you might have written 100 poems and only 20 of them work for what you're trying to do, right? You would love to keep all those 100 poems in there, but it's not going to, the subject matter is not in agreement, right? half of this book, you know, half of the 50 of the poems, right? You're writing about love, and other than 50 of the poems you're writing about death. Okay, well, if they work together, but if they're so far extreme, you know what I mean, then that could be a whole other book. So that's something also that you have to think of um when you're doing editing and all that great stuff. uh and then yeah, so performance organizing, going back to that editing, time, intensity, ease of memory, and relatability. Okay, so we talked about time and we talked about intensity too. What gets the crowd going, what's more serious, what requires this type of energy, what requires that type of energy. Ease of memory and relatability. There's nothing more embarrassing. There's nothing more embarrassing for you to perform something that is not in muscle memory. It is the most stressful you will ever be, right? And I'm not saying that I don't visit this often, because most of the time I try to do things without muscle memory and it fails. So I'm gonna stop, right? If you have a poem that's easy to remember, memorize it. I don't know if anybody had tactics when they were memorizing. Yeah, when they were memorizing their flashcards when they were kids, like your spelling words. You have to go back to that, and you have to go stanza by stanza, sometimes line by line, and sometimes you have to edit and take words out because it doesn't flow well, right? Alliteration, onomatopoeia, all of that matters. Okay, you have to do it, but sometimes it's easier for a poem to be a poem that is read than it is to be a poem that's performed, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that the poem is any less great, right? It just means that it also depends on what type of performance you do, right? So if you're giving, you know, Maya Angelou on PBS, where she can read off of the stand, perfect. Then you don't have to memorize anything, but you do need to know pace. Actually, you do still need to memorize, right? So you can catch yourself, but you can still like follow along and read. If you do, you know, Def Poetry Jam, no, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work unless, like, you know, you're hosting and it's a 5-second thing. It's just not. And then you're not gonna want to do it because no one else is reading off of their paper. So then you're like, well, I don't want to feel out of place, right? So ease of memory is a thing, and relatability. I think when you're organizing certain things, you know, certain emotions and certain situations can lead into other poems, and that's great. And then some things are just so far fetched. Sometimes you have to stop and end that energy cycle in that conversation. Woo, how y'all doing? How are we feeling? Yada yada. Give them a story and then bring them into wherever else you're going, because it might require a different energy, right? When we're talking about how great we are and everything, yeah, that's great. But when we're doing, like, me, Jamon, and my friend Eric have this poem called Epitaph, and we wrote it after we visited the lynching memorial in Montgomery, right? That's going to require a different energy than, you know, stay out of my DMs. Those are two different situations, and it's very important that I don't shock the audience with that, because then they feel guilty. They feel guilty about enjoying the rest of your performance. And the reality is that we're all humans who go through a myriad of emotions. So it's perfectly normal to have a laughing moment and then have something that is not a laughing matter and go to something else or go back. It's okay. But you have to give everything a room to breathe. Give your audience room to receive your work. Don't let your nervousness and your anxiety prohibit people from receiving the work, and you also receiving, you know, their appreciation. I'm working on it. That's the only reason why I'm telling y'all, you know. Yeah. See, look, let's take a moment. How's everybody doing? How we feeling? Are we vibing? We're doing good. Questions?
You're on fire. Like, yes, I'm soaking it up. This is so great.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And then that's my last slide. See, I didn't even know that was my last slide. But that's my little presentation. We can go through it if you'd like. Yeah, questions, comments, concerns, how anybody's feeling. We can do a writing exercise together. I don't know.
That haiku example seemed really specific with the southern accent and the syllables. Did that come from a personal experience?
Yes. So I'm really bad at haikus. I'm actually bad with structure. I love freeform writing. However, I don't think it's fair to call myself a poet and not have experience with other forms. And not judging anybody who doesn't, but my degree isn't in English or isn't in writing. So it was just a challenge for me. And at the National Poetry Slam, they used to have, or they still do have, a haiku battle. So people go back and forth with haikus up on the spot. A lot of them are not on the spot. A lot of them are practiced over months. But to remember like so many variations, right, of 575, and my friend Jaman, he kept saying something, and we're like, that's not right. Like it's off. Like we're doing the clapping, and it's not working. It's not. I don't know what's not clicking. And it was a certain word. I can't remember what it was. But it was just so hilarious because he's like, I'm just gonna have to find a different word, and we're like, yeah, because this is just not gonna work. But that does matter too, right? Is when you're trying to stick so tightly into certain guidelines, that's something that you have to think about. And even when you're performing, like I know I sometimes stutter, so it makes sense for me to slow down certain words because it's easier for other people to understand me and for me to get out what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So if something requires a lot of alliteration, maybe I need to break it down a little bit. Yeah. So it was personal, and I tried to do the competition. I did not do well at all. What's up, Cara?
When you're writing, do you like write your poem out and then put it in like the spoken word flow, or are you doing that as you're writing?
It depends on the mode I'm in. Honestly and truly, if I've been writing, like for a few hours, like if we're in like an intensive, then I might be writing specifically for spoken word. But I don't suggest anybody like really write for anything. That's why I encourage stream of consciousness writing, is because you should just get it out. A lot of my poems that I ended up performing, I just wrote, and then we went back and took what we needed. So boom, I'll take this, I'll take this, I'll take this. Okay, when it's written out, it looks like this, but when you perform it, it looks like this. And that's why I think a lot of people are able to edit a little bit. Don't throw anything away. Don't delete it. I know you think it's bad. Don't delete it. Just leave it somewhere in your notes, and you'll go back to it and you're like, oh my gosh, I could actually use this. It might be like 2-3 years later. I actually just used something like that for like a paper. Like, trust me. Don't delete it. But yeah, I just go back and get what I need. How do you do yours?
I don't.
Oh,
But
no.
I just love the energy of it, and I think it'd be fun. I mean, there's like definitely fear in there, but more so I'm like some of those pieces are like 5 minutes, and definitely stuck on the how do you just remember everything as you're doing it.
Practice and practice some more. And then like you have to make it a routine to practice. Just because I knew the poems 3 years ago doesn't mean I know them now, right? And you think you do, and then you go on stage and you embarrass yourself, and you're like, okay, well, I need to get back in the lab. I did appreciate when we did go to National Poetry Slam. It was great to do the work together as a group, because it's really, you have a slam team of 5, so you're just coming together. And we did it during the summer as students, so we were writing as soon as we got off of work. We ate, we came to the speech room, and we were writing. And I think it's the repetition that gets you, but also once you notice a pattern, it's up to you to change it, right? So I have a friend who for like 3 months kept using the same reference, and I got fed up. I just looked at him and was like, please don't ever write anything with that again. And you just saw like their heart broke a little bit, and I was like, I'm sorry. But it's you've been writing about it, right, for 3 months. That's what, 12 weeks, like that's a lot, right? And so when you think about it, he's like, oh snap, I didn't, let me vary what I intake, right? When's the last time you went and read a different news article from a different, source than you would? When's the last time you watched something that you wouldn't normally watch? Talk to somebody you haven't talked to in a minute. Change your intake. That also helps with writing too. And it also helps with memory because you have something else to pull off of. And some things, that are fresher in your memory are easier to pull off of. But, talking to your grandma teaches you a lot. Talking to, like, people in general, actually sitting and observing things helps you memorize, and it helps you write. I know that might sound crazy, but just trust me.
I was really curious about the 1 to 3 minute drills that you were talking about earlier. Is there any way that you can like show that for us now? Like, can we partake in
Sure.
those?
Sure. Let me do one thing real quick. I'm going to, yeah, what is this doing? Get away. Here we go. Give me 1 second. Okay. I think this should work. So I'll show you all what I did. I went online, as I normally do. I wish I was as original as I thought I was. But I went online and I typed in a poetry, not a poem generator, poetry idea generator into Google, and we're gonna share screen. Right. This is by robertpeak.com. So I just typed in the number of words, number of challenges. Can everybody see everything? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so it gave me a whole bunch of words. Here, let's just click a different one. Get another. So there are 10 words. Half-life testimony. Hetes, I don't know what that is. Patrolled painters. Mother reassess heating territories misaddressed. Right. So what I'll do, I know, right? That's crazy. It's a lot of them. So I say we should all try and pick 2 words, maybe, to give options or variety. I don't know. What do you all think? 2 words? 2 words works. I like mother because that's pretty general. And how about trying to decide between testimonies or painters? Let's go with painters. All right, so we have mother and painters, and then I'm going to give us, I know I said 1 to 3. Let's do 3 minutes. Let me get my little timer. And then I just want you to write, pick a word, mothers or painters, or both, is your choice. And then to just type out words that you associate with that. Normally when I do 1 to 3 words, I'm just writing poems, but I think it'd be better if we just kind of did like the concept. So let's do we'll give ourselves 3 minutes, and then we'll talk. We'll reconvene with the words that we got, okay? Timer. And the 3 minutes starts now. Okay, we got about a minute and 30 seconds left. Anybody else running into a wall here a little bit? No, okay. Okay. And 3, 2, 1. All right. The timer has gone off. So let's talk about it. What are some words that we thought of? I can go first. When I thought of mother, I thought of love, care, food, married, single, protection, sacrifice, partner, competition. Some people in competition. Morals, chores, and a manager. I don't know about anybody else, but my mom manages everything. And when I thought about a painter, I thought about coat, ugly, dingy, pretty, a brush, a bucket, a ladder, and sponsor. Because sometimes people sponsor paints. I don't know. I don't know. What about you all? Kind of the same, maybe a little different.
I actually went on and just free wrote.
Okay, that's
So
awesome.
I got, we paint your world before your eyes open. We assemble the palette and paint, erecting our easel to catch the best light of every view. We shade and hatch, dribble and splash, taking what life presents and using it to create your portrait. We are surrealists, naturalists, minimalists, but we paint. We are your mother.
I wish I had a snapping emoji. Okay, well, we can all pack it up and go home. That was wow. That was amazing.
I
Thank you
had
so
an
much.
unfair advantage. I have 7 kids.
Oh yeah, unfair.
Unfair.
Okay. But that's beautiful. Stephanie, did you want to share?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So for mother, I have strong, constant, freedom, strength, love, boundaries, healer. And for painter, I have hair, rainbows, color, creative, art, gentle strokes, precision.
Wow, that's good. I didn't see. Look, and then we're brainstorming so we can all use other people's ideas. Incredible. No, that was great, Stephanie. Thank you so much. Did anybody else want to share?
I got just hung up on painters the whole time.
Okay.
So creators, cutting in, rolling, boredom, like watching paint dry, wet, dry, spackled, drip, overalls, drop cloth, canvas, oil, watercolors, subject, lighting, Sunday in the park with George, tape, shade, mix, spill, chips, room, sunset, prep, gesso, smear, wash, bristle, brush, fulcrum, hair, bore.
Wow, that was extensive. I like that. In depth. You all are so deep. This is so great. Um, wow, wow. All right, so, and then, you know, as it goes, this is the writing, the other 3-minute drill where we actually write the poem, or another one if we can. If you have 7 children and you just killed the first one, you might not do another one. And that's poems, right, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I think that we should do another 3-minute drill and see what what comes of that after we've shared with each other. Yeah? Okay. I'm setting the timer for 3 minutes and it begins now. Okay, we have 3 seconds left. And we're done with our time. Pins up. Isn't that what they say on the ACT? Pencils up, put them down. Let me hear what you got. Anybody want to share? No? I gotta go first again? I can go first again? I'm gonna go first again. Okay. My mommy painted the world so pretty, told me about all the places we could go, described them as vivid and desirable, like me, or maybe not. The greens have turned to brown, the brown gets turned black by blue, the mahogany sits behind gray blocks, and cells that never see the yellow sunshine. All is dull, like me, or maybe not. Yeah, so it's my little poem. Right, and I've been thinking about a lot of things, right? I've been thinking about climate change, the whole Brittany Griner situation, which shouldn't even be a situation. Um, and actually, I have been thinking about color a lot lately because I'm like, Earth is spinning a little bit faster, and we're not really doing much about what we need to do about. So, things might be blue, and then they might be green, then they might, be black. We need to do better. Sky was clear, now it's got the bog. What's up? So, that's what I've been thinking about. Would anybody like to share next? I saw Stephanie's hand up. Lori, did you want to share as well?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So, since Stephanie had her hand up, we'll go to Stephanie, and then we'll go to Lori. We can't hear you.
Ah,
Can you hear me?
Sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay.
I was saying, hey, Lori. I know Lori. Okay, I said she paints hair with precision, but her heart beats as a mother. She loves expressing her art, but she longs to invest her time elsewhere. Rainbows and colors are her eyes, and she shares the beauty with her brood. A mother, a painter, a human art maker.
Wow. A human art maker. Snap, snap, snap. Yes. I love it. Great job. Miss Lori, would you like to share?
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. I did something on the word painters. In these overalls, he asks Sherwin Williams, how now, or now how, while Martha Stewart shoves paint swatches in his face with fancy names like ochre, azure, persimmon, or cornflower. The man in splotchy overalls smokes a cigarette and takes a sip from a Coke can, red as fingernail polish. Then he drives away in a white pickup with roller brushes and trays rattling in the pickup's bed, jangling his nerves like a set of keys dangling from a belt loop on jeans.
Yes. The description is everything. I love it. Great job, Lori. That was amazing. Did anybody else want to share?
I'll go ahead. All right. Boar bristles folded into the fulcrum, rolled about in oils. I trapped the sunset on gessoed drop cloth, canvas stretched and pinned to frame. This moment will hang on the wall the sun never reaches, not even in the low-slung twilight of waning winter.
Good job, Haley. I loved it. That's great. Did anybody else want to share?
I'll go.
Okay.
Mom, a word taken from granted. The person who carries the load, a before and after, goes unnoticed, like a room painted from white to off-white. Some days the sun hits bright, others dark in the shadow.
Great. Great job. I loved it. I loved it. That was so good. And props to giving credit. What credit is due, you know? Moms do go underappreciated, but we love y'all. We love you. Yeah.
Can I
Go ahead. Somebody else?
can I finish mine?
Yes.
Because I did it.
Yay.
So the second part is we cannot change reality, but we can point your eye to something new. Highlight the hidden jewels for you to discover. Set a glow for an adventure. You may not like our brushes or our frames, but we do the best we can with what we have. We long for the time to paint alongside you. And
Great.
I just discovered the first part is we paint for you, but we look forward to when we paint with you.
Yes. That's growth. That's growth. I love it. I love it. Ah, this fed my soul. This is exactly what I needed. This is so beautiful. See what happens when we work together? We make magic. Gave you a little spark. See how I did that, Haley? See how I brought it around?
I mean, that's exactly why the whole festival is called Spark, right? You bring people together in a room, you give them some creative sparks, and like people are gonna fan it into a flame. You've been so amazing tonight. Thank you so much. I have absolutely loved this.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you everyone for being so awesome and open and willing to help and share. It's been great.
Yeah, absolutely. So well, thanks guys. Thanks everyone for coming out. Really appreciate each and every one of you and for participating in the Spark stuff. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we have our panel with the Alabama Writing Organization. So we have Magic City Poetry Festival, Alabama Writers Forum, Alabama Writers Cooperative, and the Society for Children's Book Writer and Illustrators Southern Breeze chapter will all be in the same digital Zoom space talking about writing in Alabama and writerly things. And you can come with your questions, you can come to chat. It's kind of like a who's who casual kind of thing. So I hope you guys come out and join us for that. And just thank you guys for being here. I appreciate each of you. So
Awesome.
all right.
Thank you, everybody.
Catch you guys later.